Many pilots we spoke with say accidents happen, but that doesn't keep them from taking to the sky. And just when you think this case is over, Chief Klebs tells me that they are speaking with two teenagers who were with Glover the night Jessica Brown was murdered. And Chief Klebs says they too could join Brown, Matheson, and Glover right here at the Oklahoma County Jail. Reporting in Oklahoma City, Ricky Maranon, OU Nightly. They would find her body here along the shores of Lake Stanley Draper, raped and murdered just hours after she disappeared. But there would be more questions than answers as to just what happened. Band plays and the engines roar at the Guthrie Edmond Airport's Community Day. Pilots are taking to the skies, showing off their classic and restored airplanes by doing flyovers and a stunt or two.
I purchased it from the South African Air Force about 15 years ago, and I've been flying it since. It's actually a simpler airplane than your normal GA airplanes, general aviation airplanes that you purchase nowadays. It's 1930s technology, built in 1943.
But it's classic planes like Hans that have been grabbing the attention of aviation fans nationwide. Just 1 week before the Guthrie Airport's event, a plane built in the same era as Hans T-6 crashed into spectators in Reno, Nevada, killing 11 people and the pilot. Many pilots we spoke with say accidents happen, but that doesn't keep them from taking to the sky.
That is a tragedy, and we all feel really terrible about that. We're close to this sport. We understand what has happened.
But it is part of the sport, and we do everything we can to preclude and prevent things like that, and hopefully nothing like that will happen again here in the near future.
Pilots say it's events like Guthrie's Community Day that inspire the next generation of pilots and keep the sport alive.
So they have to be exposed to it, and that's what a lot of this is. When I was young, their age, I was not exposed to aviation. The first airplane I ever touched was in pilot training.
Airport officials are so confident in their safety precautions that they are selling gas at deep discounts so visitors can go for rides. Ricky Maranon, News 9. A withered rose is all that remains in the front yard of this Midwest city home where less than a month ago, one 911 call changed everything.
I live off Locust Lane, Midwest City, and there's about I'd say about a 2 and a 3-year-old. I mean, I don't even know if she's 2 yet. But they're like crossing the street and they're walking down a few houses down.
Police arrived to find two small children in the street. One of them told police Mommy was sleeping. Police would then find Jessica Brown dead inside. Her murder would later be classified as Midwest City's first murder-for-hire case in at least 30 years.
We received a confession, and basically he was very callous in his response as to his involvement in the crime, and he told us that he had entered the home and shot Jessica as she laid next to her two children.
That man is Broderick Glover, known to his friends as Savage. Glover would go on to tell police he was hired to kill Brown by her ex-husband Fabian Brown and his girlfriend Emily Matheson.
If there was a true description of a cold-blooded killer, then Broderick Glover is the poster child of that.
Court documents show that in addition to supplying this rental car, Fabian paid Glover $250 for the murder. And as for the motive?
You know, I tell everybody it's excerpts from the 7 deadly sins. You've got hatred, you've got greed, you've got envy, and this is what this case is all about because of the fact that he was going to lose his kids, and there's a lot of money on waiting for someone who would inherit that.
And just when you think this case is over, Chief Klebs tells me that they are speaking with two teenagers who were with Glover the night Jessica Brown was murdered. And Chief Klebs says they too could join Brown, Matheson, and Glover right here at the Oklahoma County Jail. Reporting in Oklahoma City, Ricky Maranon, OU Nightly.
Well, it was 15 years ago this morning. OU student and ballerina Julie Buskin was supposed to meet a friend for breakfast before heading home for the holidays. But as News 9's Ricky Maranon shows us, what happened to her back in 1996 continues to shake Cleveland County today.
It's the height of the holiday season in Cleveland County. But like the ghost of Christmas past, what took place on these streets more than a decade ago continues to haunt the city of Norman.
The most dreaded call that you can receive is a call that one of your students has died or been killed in a tragedy. And I'll still remember forever the call from Joe Lester, now the county sheriff here, who was chief of police at the time, telling me that Julie Buskin had been killed.
To this day, I still see the face of Bud and Mary Jean Buskin sitting there in the audience, listening to every single gory detail about this trial.
In the early morning hours of December 20th, Julie Buskin disappeared from her East Norman apartment.
The night before, she'd been out with some friends that had a going-away party, a Christmas party, saying their goodbyes. They thought their goodbyes were for the semester until after Christmas. Little did they know that their goodbyes would be forever.
They would find her body here along the shores of Lake Stanley Draper, raped and murdered just hours after she disappeared. But there would be more questions than answers as to just what happened.
If you could imagine being out in 10 below zero or 20 below zero weather and being kidnapped, raped, and murdered and left at the edge of Lake Stanley Draper, that was a horrific crime.
Julie's killer was convicted of her murder back in 2006. But just because Julie is gone, that doesn't mean she is forgotten.
Here's a loved one that had such a brilliant future ahead of her. Here's a loved one that was a sister, that was an aunt, that was a friend, that was a cousin, a daughter, a granddaughter that will never, ever, ever get to share the future with her family.
She had a beautiful spirit about her. Even when you just saw her walking across campus in her everyday street clothes, you felt she walked with such dignity and grace that you'd say to yourself, I bet she's a ballet dancer.
Ricky Maranon, News 9.
And Julie's memory lives on at OU through a scholarship in the School of Dance. Those close to the Buskin family are asking the OU Board of Regents to endow that scholarship so Julie can be a part of the university forever.
Happening now on OU Nightly, students and locals say goodbye to another legendary Norman bar. A presidential campaign sets up shop in Norman, and pull out those jackets. Shelby Hayes is tracking a frosty cold front headed our way. All of that and more starts right now on OU Nightly. Happening now on OU Nightly, we pinch our nose, hold our breath, and look into what's causing a horrible smell on the south side of campus. Students prepare to sleep outside for charity, and we sit down with an award-winning student actor who will be making his way to Washington, D.C. Those stories and more happening now on Nightly. For the first time in state history, an African American will be Speaker of the Oklahoma House of Representatives. Republicans chose Lawton Representative T.W. Shannon to be Speaker designate today. He will take over as Speaker in 2012. Current House Speaker Chris Steele is term limited. Shannon will now work with Steele on learning the ins and outs of the Speaker's job. Governor Fallin signed a new law making it a felony for doctors to perform abortions after 20 weeks of pregnancy. The Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act presumes a fetus can experience pain after 20 weeks, and Oklahomans are already reacting to the new law. Hail the size of baseballs pelted southern parts of the state near Ada Saturday. Take a look at that. Hail broke windshields and caused thousands in property damage into cars. The hail is from a larger storm cell that caused the rain delay at the OU Texas Tech game. One man reported that his sunroof actually shattered while driving into the storm. I can only imagine that had to be a nightmare.
Oh, hellacious.
Tough economic times have fewer motorists pimping their rides. The Oklahoma Tax Commission says the sales for specialty license plates have dropped by more than 3,000. But sales numbers look even more grim when projected out over 5 years. Over the past 5 years, specialty plates have dropped in sales by 51,000. And I tell you what, Aaron, it was a good day to ride around in the convertible with the top down.
It was. Too bad I don't have one. But I hear we're expecting more fall-like temperatures coming up soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Shelby, what's going on? I hear there's frost in the forecast.
I'm kind of looking forward to the winter and the snow.
All right, so prediction. If I'm going Black Friday shopping in Norman, 1 blanket, 2 blanket, 5 blankets?
Better dress warmly. Okay. It's going to be chilly.
Okay. Well, it wouldn't be a Black Friday unless it was chilly.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, there's not many Black Fridays you get a chance to actually experience how cold it is at 4 o'clock in the morning waiting to get that gigantic TV.
Put you in the Christmas spirit.
Oh, absolutely.
Nothing says America like let's eat and shop. Exactly. Thanks, ladies. We are joined by the Central Oklahoma Red Cross spokesperson, Rusty Surrett. Rusty, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, sir.
If you can give us a little bit of a rundown of what you do on a daily basis.
What my job is to be the Director of Communications and Marketing and Branding for Central and Western Oklahoma. I also assist with disaster communications in 5 of our surrounding states during times of need.
I know there have been some recent emergencies that you've gone out with and victims. Do you give support to victims like that on a regular basis?
Yeah, one of the things we do is disaster response. Our primary job is to focus on central and western Oklahoma, where we're stationed at. And we do provide emergency assistance for those who've been affected by disasters. And by disasters, we respond on everything from a hurricane to a tornado, all the way down to the everyday house fire and apartment fires that sometimes don't even make the news.
As far as we're showing some video of some wildfires right now, has this summer been, we've seen wildfires all over the place. Has it been extreme? Is this the norm? And how do you prepare for something like that?
Ricky, this was one of probably the busiest summers in American Red Cross's history, because we weren't only dealing with wildfires, but we had hurricanes and we had flooding in different parts of the country. We had, in this summer, more operations going on nationwide than any other time in our nation's history. At one point, we were helping more people in the South than what we did with Hurricane Katrina a couple of years ago. So absolutely, this was one of the busiest years we've ever had, and it's only going to get busier as we go into winter.
Now, speaking of winter, I mean, we've seen the forecast projections. Some are saying it's going to be just as bad. How do you gear up for that, or is it oh my gosh, or
preparation, and of course we depend on volunteers. 90% of our force are volunteers, and we depend on people like you and the people watching. It's all about sponsors and getting that support from the community, and we just prepare. We're ready. We know winter's coming. You're right. We do hear that the forecast is not a pretty one. We look like we may have some ugly ice storms and snowstorms, but we are getting the plans in place. We're calling our volunteers, and we encourage anyone watching right now to sign up. We're more than happy to get the help.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Definitely.
We'll send it back to you, ladies.